Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the book review. Hello friends and welcome to another weekly wrap up, and we have 8 books to talk about today and they sure run the gamut of everything, so I can't wait to get into that. First off, if you haven't seen my other weekly videos that were going up this last week, I did get a new phone, which means I'm getting used to the new camera settings. Today I think this view is a little bit extra saturated, but we'll see. It's going to take me a few to get used to it, so just pardon me. Because of course they never keep the camera settings exactly the same from one to one. But one thing I have been really impressed with is I do love the new microphone on this one. I think that my last couple videos have sounded really good. So you let me know how it's going for you. But just know over the next few, I'm going to try a few different settings and then I'm going to look back and see which ones I like best. So this is me today too with no makeup. That's the other thing, is that I filmed one with full makeup one day, one with partial makeup, and this one I don't have any on, and that also helps me decide which settings I like. But anyway, that's just a little bit of behind the scenes stuff because, again, you guys are, in general, always so encouraging and being like, oh, you look beautiful, which again, I appreciate so much. You have no idea, especially because I can get literally 100 comments of people saying you look beautiful, your skin looks good, all that stuff, which by the way, that's almost always a filter. I hate to tell you, but it really is. And I'm not ashamed that I use a filter. I'm 32 and often I film without makeup. So we use a filter. It's okay. It's the life we live in. But I get one comment about, oh, I don't like how you did your hair, like, why are you wearing that, or this or whatever, and it crushes you. You can have 100, 1,000 compliments of people just saying, oh, you look so pretty, I love your lipstick, your eyes look so good, and you get one comment of even someone being like, oh, I don't love when you do your hair that way, it looks better like this, and it is crushing, okay? That's crushing to anyone. But you know, as women, like, why do we do that to each other? Don't do that to someone. Don't comment on how someone looks. Even if you think they're having a shit day or they look tired and you think you're being encouraging, just think about it turned around, okay? If I stepped into your life and said, oh, I like it when your hair's pushed back, it doesn't look good like that, okay? That is so demeaning to do. Like, we're not here to talk about my looks. We're here to talk about books. Ooh. I made that rhyme. Anyway, not here to give you guys a lesson because, again, in general, all of you are fantastically supportive. But that's just me as I'm getting used to a new camera. I stare at myself all day long when I do that, and it takes a hit to your morale if you don't like how you look. Which, again, I don't have a problem with how I look. That's not how I feel. But if there's something about myself I'm not liking that day, and then I'm thinking no one's going to notice it, and then they notice it, and you're like, wow, thanks for noticing that. But before we dive into these, I do have to do a quick welcome to a couple of people. First off, we have a new proud producer for the channel. Thank you to Tana. Tana, you are so kind. Thank you so much for joining at the proud producer level. So if you don't know, y'all, the proud producer level is the highest tier that I have on my Patreon. It's not so much about extra benefits at all. It's if you would really like to show your support for the channel, and you are so blessed to be able to support me at that level. That significantly helps me. Like, anyone watching, you are all wanted, but to join at the proud producer level, it just shows me that you really appreciate what I'm doing here. So whether that is for 1 month or for years, as I have a couple people on that tier for years now, it is, honestly, it's amazing. So thank you so much, Tana. I appreciate it so, so much. Then I do have a new, I have a new channel member, but not a new supporter here by any means. We have Lisa, who she has been a supporter of my channel for ages, but she did join my channel membership. She's been a patron for a long time. So whenever I see people hop onto both of those, I'm like, it just gives me extra warm and fuzzies. So, and channel members are who get early access to videos. Like this video, you guys know it always goes up on Sunday mornings, but channel members get access to it as soon as it's available. And today I actually have one of my Fated Friend Hangouts, which means it'll just be me and whatever channel members are able to join. And we have an hour or so long chat, just the two of us. They can ask me anything. We talk about anything. And it's a really fun time. So, okay, now that I've spent the first 5 minutes talking about all the behind the scenes stuff, let's get into these books because, oh boy, we got a lot to talk about. So the first book that I finished was Sin With Me by Brooke Montgomery. And this was the final book in her, what's the series called? Sugarland Creek series, which is a big family. They own a resort. They're cowboys. They're horse trainers, all the like. And she does have a spin-off series that'll be coming, and we do get to meet some of those family members. I believe that the spin-off will be about in this one. But this one was pitched as a wake up married in Vegas scenario. This is also one that I was anticipating because after reading Only With Me, we meet the siblings of these characters, right? So Only With Me was about Waylon, who is Wilder's twin. And when we read Only With Me, we see the tough time that Waylon has had looking out for his brother Wilder. And Wilder has really struggled with his mental health, with self-harm. This starts off with some very graphic self-harm. All of those trigger warnings are there. And again, if you've read up to this point in the series, like you already knew that this was coming. And so I was very intrigued to get into it because the way that this couple meets, which this is Delilah, who is the older sister of the heroine from the last book, and actually the ex-girlfriend of Waylon. So like that was kind of the mix between these two books, is that it's brothers who marry sisters is what happens. But Delilah and Waylon, they dated each other quite a while back, and they ended up being better as friends. Like, they were very supportive and loving of each other, but they were better as friends. And Wilder and Delilah actually meet through a crisis hotline that a church in town hosts or like supports. And Delilah is one of the crisis counselors or one of the people who takes the calls. And so it is like, it was a very intense beginning because there are multiple scenes. Sorry, I knew this was going to be hard to talk about. There are multiple scenes where Wilder calls when he literally has a blade in his hand. And this one specific caller, or one specific worker, is the one that he talks to every time. And of course he uses a fake name with this person, but there are multiple times he's called when he's on the brink of it. And the way it's kind of written is he isn't so much suicidal, but the things that he's doing could lead to death. So whether his purpose is death or not, he has some very risky behaviors, and cutting is one of them. Some things I thought were interesting is I haven't read a ton of male self-harm done literally with a blade. Like, that is something I've usually read women doing before. And so seeing that in a man's perspective of like what's leading him to do it, I did find very interesting. Didn't make it any less harder to read, but I've also usually read it in, if I did read it, it was in, you know, kind of like dark romance, or just being honest, usually in romance, I've read some self-harm happening where there's like a self-hatred that they, or internalized homophobia. So anyway, I'm sorry I'm going off track, but I have seen this before, but it was very powerful in here. So the whole point of that is that these two, they meet through this hotline. And then there comes a time when she stops being the one on the other end. And around that same time, Wilder gets introduced to his brother's girlfriend. And they kind of both know who each other is pretty quickly because, I mean, they listen to each other's voice all the time. And some of the things Wilder has said about his life, she is able to now see. But this was many years ago, actually, from where we're like currently at. And we know, again, from reading Only with Me, that Delilah and her sister and their family go through a lot of stuff. And so there comes a point where she can no longer be on this crisis hotline because she has stuff in her life to deal with. And Wilder, he is always searching, you know, he calls multiple times trying to talk to the same person and he doesn't get her anymore. So he does end up coping in other ways. So anywho, that is all the prologue basically of this story, how they met each other, how things, you know, got set up for them. And then we skip ahead to our current timeline, which is, you know, she's no longer dating his brother. They both, again, know who each other is. They're actually now kind of like, Delilah's kind of looking out for him because she's been asked to by Waylon. And Waylon is having his love story with her sister, which she is supportive of, actually, because again, she loves Waylon. He was really there to support her when she needed it. And now she's looking out for Wilder, who again, she knows what his issues are because she's heard about them. So all of that stuff build up to this romance is really about them, like, you know, they kind of finally come clean that they know who each other is. And Wilder really wants to make a go of things. And for her, not only is she a bit hesitant because she knows what his issues are and she wants to make sure he isn't just, you know, latching onto her, but she's always been in a caretaker role and she doesn't want to be in that role right now because her father has passed. Again, we know about that from Only with Me. And she, for once, doesn't have to be a caretaker for anyone. And will she want to do that with Wilder now, which... does he still need someone who's a caretaker? So, anywho, all of that to say, I was very emotional about this book, as you can tell. It's meant to be pretty emotional. And at first, when I finish this book, because I've already spent enough time in detail about it, I won't go through the full plot of it. I had a good time with this, and when I was finished with it, I was like, you know, I think I really liked this one. I think I did. I think it's up there. And then I sat with it a little bit. Right? Because I didn't write the review immediately. I sat with it a little bit. And then I went and I read a few other reviews. And actually, Christy, she hit the nail on the head. And she says, sorry, life copter going by. She said that we didn't really show how he like moved past his issues. And that is what it was. You know, like I didn't articulate that because things just felt so nice by the end of this. And it was very true what Christy said, that like we kind of skipped over a lot of the work because that prologue part where he's needing to call in, we see, you know, the hard place he's in. And now, yes, there is a little bit of trouble he gets into in the current time, but he just like doesn't self-harm anymore. And we skipped over all of that work. And now he's ready to like be with Delilah and like be the man that she needs. And we just skipped all of that. And for how heavy this was for Wilder, and even more so, again, how heavy things were in Only with Me, which I'm sorry, you can't like really read these books out of order. Like you can't say read this one as a standalone. These two are intertwined very deeply because it's literally the siblings of this couple and how much of a burden they carried for their siblings and for their families. For Wilder to just be over what happened, which again, I know he's not. It's been years that he's been dealing with this. But for the fact that Waylon was scared to commit to a woman and be in love and take his attention away from his brother because he'd be worried that his brother, if he wasn't watching him, he would go too far. And that's why Delilah is now keeping an eye on Wilder so that Waylon can have a happily ever after and not be, you know, obsessed with his brother. Like, we just did not deal with that at all. And overall, when I look back now, having read all the books in the series, and, you know, I gave the very first one of these 6 stars, and I have had fun with this series, like a little bit of suspense thrown in. She didn't only go raunchy all the way through with these, though the first one definitely is the raunchiest one. There is some really good, heartwarming stuff. In each one, she introduced something very heavy, and in general, we just got over it. So I'm not a fan of that, of like if you want to go into those things, go into it, right? Whereas let's make a contrast, and then I need to move on. I'm sorry. I have so much to talk about with some of these, and I'm spending too much time on this one. In contrast, let's talk about The Wilds of Montana by Kristen Proby, who she doesn't go as deep with most of those books. There's a tiny little suspense element in it, and that might annoy some people, that's fine. But she doesn't introduce these huge issues that then we just have to get over. Like, they're usually some smaller type of issues, just enough to give us a little bit of side plot, so it doesn't have to just be this. And so when it gets resolved relatively easy, like, it's okay that it does, because she didn't make it the biggest deal in the world, right? It's just the little side plot, you know, to give us a reason for him to be her protector, or for her to be staying with him, or for the family to, you know, like, just to give it that. And in this series, it's like she wanted to introduce that so there could be conflict that wasn't just the couple, but she introduced a conflict that's so big that it should have been the full focus of a story. Okay? Did that make sense? We'll move on. So that being said, I ended up at a 4-star with this one. The audiobook was wonderful. This was narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Avery Karras, which I don't know if I've heard her before. I'd have to see. It was in dual. I did get this from Must Love Audio, and the hero has a pierced pecker, so that was fun. And yeah, I ended up at a 4-star, and yeah, the trigger warnings for this, which she does always do a great job with them, so I'm not saying that that it's a surprise what you'll be dealing with. It's just, in hindsight, we do not give it the weight it deserves for the level of it, right? Like, again, you saw how emotional I was with what Wilder is going through. And I always will, okay? When a man specifically, I mean, of course I care when women are struggling, but when a man specifically, a tough cowboy type of man, is having those type of self-harm thoughts, it really is going to touch me, okay? I'm not going to get into this on here, but my own father struggles with his mental health, and that is something that in the past few years has been of a higher thing on my heart, like how he's doing and things like that. And so I really connected with Wilder in that aspect, and to have it just kind of like, it's not that he doesn't get help, but we don't see any of it. It just felt like we brushed it off. So, okay, we're moving on. This series is good, but just be aware that if you want those issues to see them, like, taken care of, you won't really see it in my opinion. So, okay, then I had an arc of Deacon by Rhea Morris Edwards, and this book is out now. I was so excited to get an arc of this one. This is book 3 in the Sovereign Mountain series. Now, because I'm already dragging this out here, let me move this along. I gave this one 5 stars, and I do want to give just the tiniest bit of background, though. I loved Sovereign, gave it 6 stars. I reread it in December as one of my favorites. I still gave it 6 stars. Weston, I didn't love as much because a lot of Weston felt repetitive of Sovereign. One of the things I said is that it's tough for me when a series is going to be BDSM and the scenarios that get us into BDSM feel almost exactly the same every time, because I take BDSM as healing very seriously. I am fine if you want to go as kinky as you want to go, like bring it all out, but if you're going to make it have weight, it needs to have weight, okay? And Rhea Morris Edwards, not the first author to make a whole series BDSM, not by any means at all. It just means that I have a bit of higher standards for each book we get into. And Weston was just, it was still good, but it felt very much like an echo. And with Deacon, we come at things a bit differently. And that's why this one hit 5 stars for me. So in this one, we have Deacon and Freya. Deacon is a blacksmith and a bit of an ex-troublemaker, and he isn't as connected in with Sovereign Mountain. Like, we're still going to be dealing with Sovereign and Weston and Jensen, and we're going to see the whole gang, we will, but Deacon is a bit more separated from them for a bit, and his farm butts up against these new in town kind of like millionaire type scenario. And we have Freya, who she is the youngest child. She's actually an orphan, but she is with her stepfather and her 2 stepbrothers, and they've moved from Appalachia to this area, and they're now neighbors with Deacon. And she is, I believe she's 19, it's 18, 19, 20, I don't know. And her mother is gone, and she was left with her stepfather and her 2 stepbrothers. And though nothing sexually inappropriate has happened to her by her stepfather, we get a weird feeling. He is emotionally abusive. He's very controlling. She is supposed to take care of the house. It's a bit, I thought about it, it is a bit like a little bit of a Cinderella scenario, right? An evil stepfather and 2 stepbrothers. One of the stepbrothers is not as cruel as the others, that's for sure. But there's a lot of issues going on. Now, she's finally able to get a job out of the house, actually. She still has to take care of everything at home, but she's able to get a job in town at this like cafe, and that's where Deacon gets his eyes on her. He becomes obsessed, and we do have a pattern in that case of like they become obsessed, and then they're going to do what they got to do to get her. And it's also, again, I know, it's also a bit similar in there's people that he needs to extract her from, right? That has also happened in the previous ones. But what was different in this one is what Freya's issues are and how Deacon helps her with them. This one does involve some daddy kink. And the way that this author wrote it is because, so Deacon likes the caretaking aspect, and he wants her to call him daddy sometimes, right? So that's a thing he wants. And the first time that he says, call me daddy, she has a visceral reaction to it and is like, no, like that is a hard line. And Deacon is like, what's going on here, right? And again, not that you can't not want, like that could not be your kink and you might not like it, but the way she reacts to it, it makes him think, and he's like, what's happening to her, right? Anyway, I don't want to break down all of what the author does. You'll have to read it to see, but it is fascinating because he takes a cue from that of like, why is she so viscerally upset? And again, she has not been sexually abused, but it makes Deacon think what's going on, that she's like almost scared of something. Anyway, it's hard to explain it, but the author hits it when you read it, and it's fascinating. And so there is so much going on in this one too. There's a mystery about it. There's also one of her stepbrothers, like I said, isn't as cruel as the other, but there's something kind of wrong with him. He was in an accident in a mine. That's where the whole family was before in Appalachia. They were working in a mine, and there actually was another stepbrother who died, and now there's 2 stepbrothers left, and one of them follows in his father's footsteps, and one of them, he is addicted to drugs, and he does whatever his father like tells him to do. And so even though he loves Freya, he feels very latched onto what his father wants him to do. So there's that we have to watch as well. So yes, there are similarities to the first 2 books. You know, if you loved the first one like me, but you don't want to keep reading those, I totally get it. However, if you felt that Weston was too much like Sovereign, Deacon felt very different from those in the dynamic between the 2 of them and how we get into the BDSM scenario with them. But I mean, it is still similar because that's the series she's writing. But I really enjoyed this one, and I enjoyed it enough to give it 5 stars. And I liked it better than Weston, but I still think Sovereign is the best one. So a few other things though, of course, this has a full list of trigger warnings. She makes a very detailed list. In fact, she has one list in the book, and then if you go to her website, she has very detailed triggers. So A+ from me for that. Some of the fun, sexy things we're going to get, just to give you a taste of a few, we of course have hand necklaces, breath play, daddy kink, restraint, sex toys, squirting, and some impact play. So all of the, and chastity devices as well. I forgot to mention that. I need to make that. So lots of goodies in this one. And yeah, I gave it 5 stars, and it's a 4.5 on the spice scale for me. Okay, next up was The Duke of Pride by Mariah Stone, and this one is book 3, or 4. Is it 3? It's 3 in the 7 Dukes of Sin. And this one is about modesty and pride, or Constantine and modesty. And this one we have a kind of marriage of convenience. And what had happened is our heroine is taking care of a baby who she believes is the bastard child of Pride. Now, Pride does not tell her one way or the other. He knows that this child is related to him. We know as the reader, and he knows that this is actually his bastard brother, not his, okay, I don't want to give away the whole thing, but he's his brother, not his son. We'll just say that, like we know that much, pretty much right away. But Constantine does let her kind of believe that this is his son, but he also is refusing to like take care of this child. Now, Modesty is not the mother, obviously, or she would know who the father of the child was, but she's been told that he is related to this, and so she assumes it's the son, and she's been left in the care of this child through some means of the mother being abandoned and blah, 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 blah. And so she goes to Pride and she's like, you need to take care of this child, and he refuses to at the beginning. And so she's like, wow, what a horrible guy. I'm going to find a way to take care of this kid. Not long after, Pride actually re-shows up at the place she's staying and is like, actually, I will take control of this child. I'm going to find a safe place for him to be. And she is like, no, you can't just have him now. I'm not giving him over. You weren't going to take care of him. I don't care if you're a duke. Like, this child deserves to be loved. And he ends up strong-arming her into a marriage so that he can have control of this child and he'll look after her and the child will be looked after. Now, he has secret reasons for doing this that he doesn't tell her, but she agrees to it for the benefit of the child. And he also does need an heir, a legitimate heir eventually, and is like, well, I might as well marry her. So we then have this married couple who is going to be at each other's throats a little bit, and we'll slowly unravel how this child really is related to Pride and all that jazz. So another solid entry into the series. I probably like this one about the same as the other two. Like, so far, none of these ones have really stood out, but I enjoy them because they are narrated for me by Justine Eyre and Shane East in dual narration. This time I did snag this one from Valentine PR. Usually Must Love Audio gets all of these ones, and they did get this one as well, but they were taking too long to list it, and so I ended up getting it from Valentine PR, though I could have gotten it from Must Love Audio instead. But still a really solid book. I listened to it in one afternoon, had a good time with it. So this one I gave it 4 stars, and it was a 2.5 on the spice scale. Okay, next up, I had a reread, and it was for Noelle Adams, the author that I work for, and it was A Negotiated Marriage. So the books in this series, this is the... Is this a wedded arrangement series? I can't remember what the series title is right now, but these are books that have been moved to her website that she's selling direct from her. One of the things I've been helping Noelle with is she's slowly getting, she won't do this with her Kindle series, so fear not, the Claire Kent titles, but she's doing this with some of her books, moving them from Amazon to her website. That is a thing that hopefully a lot of authors will start to do, because 2 things. Number 1, it makes them less fully reliant on Amazon. Should anything like crazy happen, they're able to supply them directly to you that way. And the second part of it is that, you know, she gets to keep more of the profit off of it then. And so, yeah, it's a benefit for both you and her because she sells them for the same amount in ebook form that you buy them from Amazon, but she's keeping all of the profit from it. So, anywho, that's just a little pitch for that. And for any author that does offer books directly on theirs, like it's not that difficult to get them sent right to your Kindle as well. So if you're someone who doesn't use KU, or you have a favorite ebook that you would reread, you know, an author doesn't get the page reads if you read it a second time in KU. They only get it the first time you do. So if there's ever an ebook you want to buy it, if the author offers it on their site, you know, you can go and get it from them there. They send you a book funnel link and you can then forward it to your Kindle the same way you would with an ARC, the same way you would with a lot of the freebies that you can get during like, you know, a freebie party or whatever, freebie day. And then it's yours forever. It can't be taken the way that Amazon is renting you a license, right? So anywho, A Negotiated Marriage is the first in a series that it's all, you know, marriage of conveniences. And this one is between Molly and Luke, and they've actually been married for, I think, 3 years already. And they have this marriage of convenience for business reasons and for work reasons. And currently it is a sexless marriage at the beginning of this book. They are welcome to use escorts if they want, though they're not welcome to like fall in love with someone else. If they do, then they'll end the marriage. But Luke decides that he doesn't want to use an escort. He wants to have sex with his wife, and he asks her if she would be up for amending or renegotiating their marriage contract. So this is a little quickie, you know, the first one in the series. And again, I don't share my ratings for books from her anymore, but I have read this one before I ever worked for her. I read the first 2 books in this series, and this week I'll be reading book 3 in the series to do some work for her with it. And I just love it. Love, 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 love doing it. So then here we go. And I've been having people ask about this one. So here we are with it. I read Shadow's Heart by Kresley Cole. Yes, fear not. Had multiple people on both YouTube and Instagram saying, are you going to read the new Kresley Cole? Are you going to read it? And I was like, of course, my friends, of course I will. But I knew that the audiobook would be coming pretty soon. I knew that that was getting kind of like a rush delivery basically from Robert Peckoff. And I struggle to read her books without him reading it to me at this point. You know, it's difficult for me, right? Like I just reread McGreeve the last like week, or was it just last week? Yeah, I just reread McGreeve because I had to annotate it, and it was very difficult for me. It was very difficult for me to reread McGreeve because I like to listen to it. So to have to like read it with my eyeballs was difficult, you know? I wish it wasn't, but that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes that's how it is. So anywho, but yeah, so this one is about Princess Cosima, who is a vampire princess, one of the Dacians. And if you know about Dacia, that is the place where currently like Lothair is like the king of. And in general, if you leave Dacia, you cannot come back to it. Like if you shift out of there, you can't come back because it isn't like plottable on a map. You're not able to get back in. And in previous parts of the series, we've seen people who've actually been exiled from there and are not able to get back in. Now, there are some very specific people who are able to get back there because of different means that they have went through to make it happen. Okay. Now I love this series so much, but I am not the one to give you all the detailed details about everything, like just being real. My knowledge of it is more surface level, except for a few specific books. Okay. Like For All That I Love It, that's not me, which by the way, if you do want to get more in depth in it, my friend Amber, she's currently doing a readathon of all of the books this year. It's not like too far in at this point. You could always watch her past live shows on it too if you want more details in that way. But anyway, this one is about Cosima, who is a female vampire, and there are very few of those, okay? And then there is Silt, who is a is he like a sand demon is what it's called? I should pull this up. Hold on. Okay, so he's a sorcerer. He's a sorcerer. And it says this. So she has a trip to the mortal world, and she ends up getting cursed with bloodlust, and she is exiled to the sinister dimension of Nightside. And when she gets there, there's Silt Herrera, who has flouted the laws of the lore with all the arrogance of a king, remaining one step ahead of ruination. Yet then a mysterious bounty hunter schemes to capture him, dispatching him straight to hell. So now there's a fight to escape. Within Nightside, Silt clashes with the hunter's sister. So this is where, and if I'm correct too, I believe that one of the hunters is the one who, because there's an book that she wrote that is a novella, which was actually one of the first ones that she self-published because it wasn't getting done. And she's the sister of that hunter, and they're the ones who banished Silt to this place. And so he makes a vow that he will get revenge against her and that he will be responsible for killing her brother, right? And of course, you know, if you make a vow to the lore, you're not supposed to be able to get away from it. But they end up, you know, like, you're going to have to follow through with it. But then they end up discovering that they're fated mates, of course, because that's what this series is about. And now he has put himself in a sticky situation because will his fated mate, you know, can they ever make it work when he's made a vow like this? So anyway, that was a horrible, roughshod explanation. But again, I'm not the one to do the deep dives into these books. You will have to, you know, check out the Fated Mates podcast for that or get into it. But as for me, listen to this audio. I had a wonderful time with it. I will say the Dacian books are not my favorite, but there's such a full cast of characters with this. I had a great time in that aspect. I ended up giving this 4 stars. Again, it wasn't bad or anything, but it also, I just don't I didn't really care for this storyline that much. The best parts of it to me were we did get a lot of Lothair in this one, which of course I adore him. And we did get a lot of looks at Kristoff, who I don't want to say too much about him, but we know who his fated mate is. And we know that there are only really 2 beings in all the world that know where his fated mate is being kept. And that info is being kept from him. And at the very end of this book, right? Oh, please, Lord, please let Kristoff's book be next. Please let that be the one that's next. We deserve it. We freaking deserve it. Lothair and Nyx honestly have been fucking around with Kristoff and Fury for a very long time. And it may finally be time for us to do that. And we get a lot of hints at how messed up she's going to be. Just straight up, because where she is trapped at, again, I don't want to spill the whole world of this, but if you guys know, you know, where she's trapped at and what's happening to her while she's trapped in this place, dying and reincarnating over and over and over again, because Valkyries can't die that way. She's going to be insane. And I'm very interested to see how that goes, not only because this has been being teased since almost the very first book. You know, there's a couple couples who are teased this whole way here. And I'm also interested to see how the rest of the Morier, because they're not the Dacians and the Morier stuff isn't as mixed, but we do get a peek at what's going on with them. So there's just a lot in this one, you know, because the last book we gotten before this one was only a novella, and it was very much focused on one single thing. And this is one of the, you know, main books in the series again, where we touch on, you know, what's going on in the world as a whole. So yeah, I did give this 4 stars. It's a 2.5 on the spice scale. I enjoy this series so much. So, you know, maybe after I reread this one 3 times like I have with all the others, I'll feel more into it. So, okay, just a couple more to go. So, one, I did finally finish a fan fiction, and I'm sad that I didn't love it. We'll go into it here. Again, I'm not going to rate it, but just know that after I explain this one, it's kind of a maybe for me if I would recommend it, you know? So let that tell you what it will. But I'll tell you one thing. Last month, I started a different fan fiction that was a Lucius and Hermione, and it had a really promising beginning, but it was pretty long. And I ended up wanting to finish so many of the books that I was doing for the readathon I was a part of. And I had so many arcs to get to that it just kept getting pushed to the side. And it was so long that I was like, I want to read a different fan fiction and I need one that's shorter. So I've put that one to the side for now. I hope I'll get back to it because it is on my list of the 20 that I want to read this year. But this one is off of the 20. It's one that I saw on Instagram, and the concept, oh no, it wasn't on Instagram. I'm in a Facebook group now that does Dramani recommendations. And this one really intrigued me, and it is called The Life We Forgot by E. Johansson Ryder. There's this cool cover on it, and this one is a time travel, like it is a broken time turner type of thing. And it begins with Draco and Hermione waking up in bed together. Not after what appears like, not like they've just had sex or anything, but they live together. And they are 5 years in the future of the last time that they both remember. They both remember that. And the way this story ends up going, not to share the whole thing, but they keep jumping forward all the way to a certain point. And anyway, I don't know what else to say. So it didn't feel like a romance was the thing. What's cool about it is that they wake up 5 years from now and they're together and their friends all know them as being together. And the last they remember is that they were colleagues who sniped at each other all the time. They had the Draco and Hermione banter, and now they've woken up in this place together. Everyone thinks they're together and they're like, what the hell? How did we get here? Why are we together? What's going on? You know? And yeah, so parts of that were very interesting, and parts of it are kind of like, what are we doing here? And then again, we don't really see a romance, because what they discover, because again, it happens multiple times through the book that they'll skip ahead. So they skip ahead another 5 years and now they have babies. And then they skip ahead and their kids are at Hogwarts. And then they skip ahead and they're renewing. Anyway, I won't tell you all of it. But it goes all the way through their lives of them skipping. And that's why it's called The Life We Forgot, because they don't remember any of it. They'll wake up and they'll live in this time for a certain amount of time, and then they'll hop forward, and they don't know how to get out of the loop. They don't know if they're condemned to it, and they don't understand it. And so there was no like romance for them, because there is them reading their like diaries, and they're seeing that they have feelings for each other, and they're like, wow, we really care about each other. That's amazing. And so we see those moments, but we don't ever get to see them live it, right? Which, yeah, so it's a cool concept, but I wish we had seen them do that. And then also, and I hate sniping about this, I do, but this one was listed as an explicit fic, and it's not even mature. It's not. There's one scene, and it's a scene where they're like, well, we already obviously are in love with each other, so let's bang. And you're just kind of like, okay, did we need to do that? I don't know. So yeah, didn't care for this one. Again, I won't rate it, but didn't care for it. Okay, next up, I actually read 2 books now that I didn't have arcs for, and I just read them for me, and I'm so happy about it. So I read Racing Hearts by K.A. Knight, and this is an MM romance that I have had on my TBR for ages, okay? K.A. Knight so kindly sent me, I have actually both books in this series, and I'm so happy about it, because I didn't know that she wrote only MMs until I got a hold of this one. And I just thought this was fascinating. But it's taken me a while to get to it, because I didn't have any reason to get to them right away. These were physical copies sent to me. They weren't like pre-copies of it. But I saw that almost all of her books have audiobooks. And so about like 2 weeks ago, I saw that the audio for this one was only like, in preparation for book 2 that just came out, the audiobook was only a couple bucks. And so I snagged that. And, oh, I enjoyed this a lot. So this is book 1 in Pine Valley College. Now, one of the characters, Evan, is in college, and Alec, his sister, is at this college. And so I'll just read to you what it says, because it's the best way. So it's a school for the rich in both history and legacy. Evan Shaw has wanted to be a photographer for as long as he can remember, and Pine Valley is the place to go to make that happen. What he doesn't expect was to be sworn into a secret society with a dark history, or to fall in love with a man so filled with anger there might never be hope for them. Alec Anders doesn't believe in love, nor does he have time for it. He can't chase his dreams like all the rich college kids around him, and he has family to look after and food to keep on the table. And then comes Evan, everything he's not. He pushes all of Alec's buttons. Love is fickle, though, and when students start showing up dead, they will either have to work together or fall apart to discover the truth. So again, one of them's in college, one of them is not. Alec, he is a mechanic, and he does street racing to earn money, as well as he wants to open his own shop. he has a younger sister who is going to college with Evan, actually. Alec is also a repressed gay man because he was abused by his father for being gay. He also had been beaten up before when he was caught with a football player when he was in high school. He got beat up by both other football players and then by his father, and so he has deeply repressed his feelings. He is very angry. He lashes out a lot, but he loves his little sister. So there are things about this that feel very new adult in it. Also, again, like Alec's very overreaction. Also, the hiding your sexuality and being ashamed of it is very ingrained in one of the characters, so that's not going to be for everyone. But also, I really loved Evan. He was absolutely the sunshine to the grumpy in here, and he is just such a positive guy. Now, this may be a college for the rich and wealthy, but Evan has also been, he has also been kind of like cut off from his family. So he may be going to this wealthy school, but he's not in like his wealthy family anymore. And so Alec definitely misjudges him about that. But then, yeah, we also have the, oh, is there the cool picture? Let's see if I can show it to you. It's a really cool picture there. And there's also the artwork of them right there. And then, yeah, there is also a murder mystery happening at the same time. So I enjoyed this a lot. The audiobook was fantastic. It was narrated by Christian Leatherman and Emil Archer in dual. And yeah, I loved this. So I'm so glad that I gave it a go. The audiobook definitely was worth it. Again, it was a dark romance, but it did definitely feel like new adult at the same time. And again, we have the kind of enemies to lovers where like the enemies is absolutely irrational. And Alec definitely hates Evan because he's attracted to him in the beginning. So just be prepared for that. It's not everyone's favorite type of MM, but it also made me super intrigued for book 2, which not too long ago I just shared. I got the ARC box for that one as well. And now I'm super hyped, but I kind of want to wait for the audiobook for that one too. So we'll see. But I gave that one 4 stars, and it was a 2.5 on the spice scale. And there was some parental neglect, domestic abuse, violence, and murder. Like this, it is a murder mystery. There is murdering and stalking happening, and not by one of the main characters. Okay, and then the last book that I finished was a new release that I was hyped for, which was The Way We Collide by Tia Louise. And this is book, I don't know what we're at now, 4 in the Bradford Boys series. And this one is Hendrix and Raven. And this is actually another accidental pregnancy. Yes, that is what the last book was as well. But this one was super fun because it's actually like both Hendrix and his brother from the last one got these women pregnant on the same night because they both had a fling at the wedding of their sister. And in the case of this one, though, the heroine doesn't tell him right away. Now, normally, big red flag for me, don't love it, but here's how this one was set up. So, whereas in the one before, the heroine is in town staying with her mother, she finds out she's pregnant pretty soon, tells him right away because it's her ex from high school. So like they know each other, they love each other's families, like it's cool. In this one, this was a one-night stand. The hero, who also in the last book like ribbed on his brother for wanting to give up football for his kid and like all this stuff. He wasn't a jerk about it, but he's like, you'll have kids forever, like play football while you can. And he's like, no, I don't want to miss the stuff, blah, blah. Very important. But our heroine, Raven, she was only in town because I believe she was friends with the sister at one point, you know, so it's like, we were friends, you're invited to my wedding, she comes in to visit, and she gets pregnant, and she's sick, like, the whole time. And she also doesn't immediately have a way to contact him, though she could, this is a case, like, she could contact him. But he was very clear about what he wanted for his life. And the way that the author writes it, we skip ahead 15 months, and she showed up in town to present herself to him and show him his kid. And so, yes, I don't love that she kept it a secret, but we also don't sit with her where she is having the thoughts of like, oh, I'm not going to tell him, I don't want to ruin his life. That's something that always bugs me when I read it. And we just skip to she showed up with the kid. And so again, I still don't love that she did that and didn't give him the chance, but it also makes sense because we've read the previous book. We know that he doesn't know about his baby mama during that story at all. And so if we now had this, it couldn't have worked. And I ended up like enjoying it a lot because this one wasn't as smooth. Like Hendrix makes some mistakes. Like he is excited about his baby right away. He's not great with babies though, even though he has nieces and or nieces at this point. He's not great with the baby. He's awkward. He doesn't know how to hold her. He gets like sick from a poopy diaper, which respect, man. Like some of those are nasty. And they end up doing a marriage of convenience, though, because our heroine is from a very wealthy family, and her mother has passed. Her mother was pretty abusive and, like, emotionally and stuff, and her dad never really stood up for her because he left the kids to his wife. That was what he did. And the mother left her an inheritance, but she had to be a certain age or be married. And so she's like, hey, I can take care of my kid myself if I can have my inheritance. We just need to be married until I get the payout. And so Hendrix agrees. And during the time while they're married, she moves with him to LA for him to be in, you know, playing football and everything, and helps get her a job actually at a local station because she wants to be a weather woman. And he uses some of his connections to help with that. So this was very cute. I didn't enjoy it as much as previous books, you know, kind of because of some of the issues that I have, but it was still really fun. And it was a duet narration with Aaron Shedlock and Stephanie Kay. So really enjoyed that. And there still is another one coming, I believe, which is going to be Jack's book. And I think that one's a single dad and his kid is like older. So yeah, that one I'm looking forward to as well. But anyway, those are all of the books that I read this week. Let me know what you read, what you loved. Let me know your thoughts on some of these. And yeah, let me think. What else was I going to say? Oh yes, thank you again to Tana for becoming a proud producer and Lisa for joining channel memberships. I appreciate y'all so much, more than you'll ever know. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.